कुछ तो फिर कर लो सारी चीज़ बहुत सारी बना दो छोड़ना नहीं इसके लिए कोई प्लीज
I already connected it or turned it on.
आवाज़ बुलंद सलावत
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم قال أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلألأ كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
ما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده يا رسول الله أتأذنوا لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين عليه السلام قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخلا معهما تحت الكساء.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له عليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل.
ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتأذنوني أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك فدخلت تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
فاحتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء. أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، واذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل.
فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها.
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتأذنوا لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله فإنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن
ماشاءاللہ. بلند صلوات. صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. ما شاء الله. سلامك الله.
لا فتح لا سيف الله ذوالفقار بڑھتے جاتے ہیں فرشتے بڑھتے جاتے ہیں.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل. ما شاء الله. سلمك الله. بسم الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. السلام.
مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو وطن لے چلو مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو مجھے بھی کیسے رہوں گی یہاں پر، ہائے میں کیسے رہوں گی یہاں پر، یہاں ہے بھلا کون میرا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، 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 رہا ہو کے گھر جانے والوں، مجھے بھی کہیں پر بٹھا لو، شہیدوں کے سر ہیں جہاں پر، مجھے بھی وہیں پر سلا دو، میں بابا کے سر سے لپٹ کر سفر کاٹ لوں گی یہ سارا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، نہ یوں چھوڑ کر جاؤ اماں مجھے شامیوں کے سہارے، یتیمی کو ماری ہوئی کو ستایا بہت ظالموں نے، بہت خوف آتا ہے مجھ کو، تمہیں واسطہ سیدہ کا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، سنا ہے کہ واپس ملے ہیں تمہیں شمر سے میرے گوہر، بھلا کیا کرو گے تم ان کا اگر رہ گئی میں یہاں پر، انہیں بھی امانت سمجھ کر یا دفنا دو زندان میں، یا مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، 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 جو پہنچے مدینہ تو اماں وقت مصیبت نہ آئے، سنار اکبر کی باتیں سنانے کی نوبت نہ آئے، میری لاش کو دیکھ کر ہی سمجھ لے گی ہر بات سغرا، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو، یہی سوچ کر ذیل تربت تڑپتا ہے دکھیا کا لاشا، مجھے شہر کے شہر میں اب ہمیشہ ہی رہنا پڑے گا، دھڑکتا نہیں پھر بھی اماں یہ دل کانپ جاتا ہے میرا، وطن لے چلو مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو سرے شاعری کچھ تو بولو سفارش کرو کچھ ہماری قضا آ گئی ہے تو پھر کیا بیٹی ہوں بابا تمہاری نہ انکار کر پائے گی وہ پھوپھی سے ذرا کہہ دو بابا مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو میں کیسے رہوں گی یہاں پر یہاں ہے بھلا کون میرا مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو مجھے بھی وطن لے چلو
جزاک اللہ جزاک اللہ
صلی علی محمد
بسم اللہ إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم حبیب خدا ختم انبیاء بلند تر صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
عجل فرجہ
ہائے کیا فاطمہ زہرا پہ مصیبت آئی ہائے کیا فاطمہ زہرا پہ مصیبت آئی بچھڑی سب کنبے سے کیسی یہ قیامت آئی خوف بڑھنے لگا اور تب بھی بشدت آئی لیٹے لیٹے کبھی اٹھ بیٹھی جو رقت آئی لیٹے لیٹے کبھی اٹھ بیٹھی جو رقت آئی دل سے کہتی تھی کہ کس واسطے گھبراتا ہے ٹھہر جب کوئی لینے کے لیے آتا ہے ٹھہر جب کوئی لینے کے لیے آتا ہے کبھی کہتی تھی کہ سرور نے بلایا ہم کو خیر اچھا کیا مادر نے بلایا ہم کو یہ بھی تقدیر ہے کہ گھر بھر نے بلایا ہم کو ہائے بھیا علی اکبر نے بلایا ہم کو ہائے بھیا علی اکبر نے بلایا ہم کو خیریت سے رہے پردیس کو جانے والے خوش رہے فاطمہ زہرا کو بلانے والے خوش رہے فاطمہ زہرا کو بلانے والے ایک وہ دن تھا کہ یہ گھر تھا ہمارا آباد رہتے تھے خرم و خوشحال شہ نیک نہاد ایک یہ دن ہے کہ تنہا میں یہاں ہوں ناشا کربلا हो गई आबाद मदीना करबला हो गई आबाद मदीना मुझको सब छोड़ गए अश्कों से मुंह धोती हूँ करबला वालों को मैं 8 पहर रोती हूँ अरे करबला वालों को मैं 8 पहर रोती हूँ मिल के सब करते सिफारिश मेरी बाबा से अगर इतना कह देते कि सुगरा को बुला लो सरवर मैं कसम खाती हूँ हो जाते रज़ामंद कहते अकबर से के ले आओ बहन को जाके कहते अकबर से के ले आओ बहन को जाके अब ना आएगा कोई और न कोई जाएगा कोई आएगा तो मरकज पे मेरे आएगा कोई आएगा तो मरकज पे मेरी आएगा अब ना बाबा से शिकायत है ना मादर से गिला ना फूफी सानी है सहरा से ना खाहर से गिला ना तो कासिम से ना अब्बास से दिलावर से गिला हाँ फकत है मुझे भैया अली अकबर से गिला हाँ फकत है मुझे भैया अली अकबर से गिला कह गए थे जो रिजा शाह की हम पाएंगे ऐ बहन हम तुम्हें लेने को जरूर आएंगे ऐ बहन हम तुम्हें लेने को जरूर आएंगे और वो छोटा सा मुसाफिर मेरा प्यारा माँ फूफी बहनों का भी राज दुलारा घुटनियों चल के सफर को ना सिधारा हाय मुझको ना बहन कह के पुकारा हाय मुझको ना बहन कह के पुकारा याद जब आता है क्या क्या मुझे तड़पाता है उसका हर बार हुक्म ना मुझे याद आता है उसका हर बार हुक्म ना मुझे याद आता है अब ये हसरत है कि आए जो वतन में कुर्बा मरकद पे उसे लाए मेरी उस पे फिदा घुटनियों चलने लगा होगा वो अपना में खुदा हाय उस रोज की थी मुझको तमन्ना क्या क्या हाय उस रोज की थी मुझको तमन्ना क्या क्या आएगा कब्र पे आराम बहुत पाऊंगी वो बहन कह के पुकारेगा मैं जी जाऊंगी خبر گیا سوکھے ہوئے حلق پہ شہ کے خنجر سر پہ سہرانا سجا ہو گئے بے سر اکبر قبر ننھی سی بنی سو گئے اس میں اصغر قبر ننھی سی بنی سو گئے اس میں اصغر صالحان کو فلک نے یہ دکھایا صغرا مرنے والوں نے نا کفن بھی نہیں پایا صغرا مرنے والوں نے نا کفن بھی نہیں پایا صغرا ہائے کیا فاطمہ صغرا بے مصیبت آئی
جزاک اللہ بیٹا جزاک اللہ
ماشاء اللہ
صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد
Assalamu alaikum Maulana. Jazakallah for everyone attending. If I could request you to please move a little bit forward. Thank you. And before I ask Qibla, my father would like to recite a small salam, inshallah.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
نعرے دیگر نعرے صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
ایک مرتبہ بلند آواز سے صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
فطرت ہی کردگار کی خلق خدا میں ہے فطرت ہی کردگار کی خلق خدا میں ہے اعلیٰ مثال جس کی رخ مصطفیٰ میں ہے اعلیٰ مثال جس کی رخ مصطفیٰ میں ہے مقصود زیست نعمت رب کی عطا میں ہے مقصود زیست نعمت رب کی عطا میں ہے اور آنکھیں نجف کی سمت ہیں دل کربلا میں ہے آنکھیں نجف کی سمت ہیں دل کربلا میں ہے بھائی لکھی ہے ہر نبی کی جو تاریخ نے صفت لکھی ہے ہر نبی کی جو تاریخ نے صفت سب مجتمع کریں تو علی مرتضی میں ہے سب مجتمع کریں تو علی مرتضی میں ہے ستوت حسین ابن علی میں وہی ہے جو ختم الرسول کی ذات اور عقدہ کشا میں ہے صدیوں سے یہ ادائے حسینی کی وسعتیں 50 سال پہلے جب ہم یہاں آئے تو یہ صورتحال نہیں تھی الحمدللہ یہ دیکھیں جن کا وعدہ ہے وہ پورا ہو رہا ہے اور اسی سے متعلق یہ شعر ہے صدیوں سے یہ ادائے حسینی کی وسعتیں کہتی ہیں راز اس کا نبی کی دعا میں ہے کہتی ہے راز اس کا نبی کی دعا میں ہے اب تک ہے کربلا کا یہ اقوام پر اثر بھئی اب تک ہے کربلا کا یہ اقوام پر اثر اشک ادا سے آنکھ ہے دل بکا میں ہے اشک ادا سے آنکھ ہے نم دل بکا میں ہے دنیا میں ہو کسی بھی جگہ شہ کا ماتمی. شعر سنیں آپ. دنیا میں جو بھی کہیں باہر جاتا ہے تلاش پہلے یہ کرتا ہے کہ ادا حسین فرش ادا کہاں بچھا ہوا ہے. دنیا میں ہو کسی بھی جگہ شہ کا ماتمی ڈھونڈے ہے چین دل کا جو شہ کی عزا میں ہے. ڈھونڈے ہے چین دل کا جو شہ کی عزا میں ہے. اور ہو کتنا درد دل غم و اندوزیست میں. شعر سنیے گا جناب کہ ہو کتنا درد دل غم و اندوزیست میں. ارے دے دیتی ہے سکون جو علم کی ہوا ہے. دے دیتی ہے سکون جو علم کی ہوا میں ہے. عباس لکھنا چاہوں ظفر بھائی شعر سنیے گا کہ عباس لکھنا چاہوں سکینہ لکھے قلم. عباس لکھنا چاہوں سکینہ لکھے قلم. چاہت کا ربط کتنا بھتیجی چچا میں ہے. چاہت کا ربط کتنا بھتیجی چچا میں ہے. جاتا ہے ذہن شہ کے علمدار کی طرف ہے کتنا ارتباط جو حرف وفا میں ہے. ہے کتنا ارتباط جو حرف وفا میں ہے. انسانیت سے بغض اور اظہار دشمنی. انسانیت سے بغض اور اظہار دشمنی ششماہ پر نشان ہے تیر جفا میں ہے. دشمن بھی رو دیا علی اصغر کے قتل پر. دشمن بھی رو دیا علی اصغر کے قتل پر. ارے کیا شان سروری ہے جو اس محلقہ میں ہے. کیا شان سروری ہے جو اس محلقہ میں ہے. سب سے جدا رباب کا درد و علم ہے. سب سے جدا رباب کا درد و علم ہے. دو بار سر صغیر کا قتل جفا میں ہے. دو بار سر صغیر کا قتل جفا میں ہے. اور رہتے ہیں منتظر بچھے فرش عزا کہیں. رہتے ہیں منتظر بچھے فرش عزا کہیں. اپنی بقا تو صرف اسی کی بقا میں ہے. اپنی بقا تو صرف اسی کی بقا میں ہے. فطرت ہی کردگار کی خلق خدا میں ہے. اعلیٰ مثال جس کی رخ مصطفیٰ میں ہے. صلوات
صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بارے دیدے بلندر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بلندر صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فاتحة. بسم الله.
اور حبیب خدا ختم انبیاء بلندر صلوات. اللهم صل على
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن. ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين صاحب العصر والزمان خليفة الرحمن إمام الإنس والجان ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن تبتوا صدقات فنعما هي وإن تخفوها وتعطوها الفقراء فهو خير لكم. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
Surah Baqarah, verse number 271, has a beautiful message for us for behavior.
Jazakallah, jazakallah.
I have oftentimes said this, and to my young guys who are here, we need to begin to cultivate a connection with the Quran.
Jazakallah, jazakallah.
When I was growing up, you learned your alif batas, you read your Quran, you finished your Quran, you had your ameen, you collected your gifts, and that was the end of it. But nowadays, there's so much work being done in the Quran. There's so many things online in any platform you want, any language you want, easily accessible. Be it discussions on the wahi of Allah, be it discussions on the tafsir of the Quran, be it tafsir that's mawzu'i, meaning by subject, or tadibi, sequential, you name it, in any language you want. So it is important that we move away, and I say this with responsibility, we move a little bit away from simple qira'at of the Quran and we go a little bit into the tadabbur of the Quran.
MashaAllah.
Because it is a miracle, as you know. It's a miracle because it is relevant in all ages for every single individual. And nowadays especially, there are such secrets in this Quran that you wonder, why should we be in the state that we're in if these secrets are available to us? Others may be lost, but we shouldn't be lost, right? So this verse that I had recited in the khutbah, just the first half of it, talks about the idea of giving charity. Okay. So initially, the verse says that the one who gives charity openly, sadaqat openly, it's good. فَنَعِمَّا هِيَ. It's good for you. And the one who does what? وَإِن تُخْفُوهَا وَتُعْتُوهَا الْفُقَرَاءِ. The one who gives to a faqir, but gives to a faqir in a state that's tukhfuha, that's khafi, quietly, secretly, without this big announcement, or without a big AV team, without the big Instagram moment. You give to somebody, you give them quietly, without anybody knowing it. فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It's better for you that you give it secretly than you give it openly. Now, mind you, there are moments in the fiqh, and that's not my discussion, that we should sometimes announce, for example, my pledge here, my donation here, for tashweek and encouragement. That's fine. But ultimately, what the Quran is saying is that you do your khair, but do it quietly. And it might sound simple to all of us today, but in a world that we live in of glamorization, where everyone has their own AV team, I wish I had my own AV team sometimes. A camera following me around and this angle and that lighting and this, that, where everything now has to be uploaded and updated and hashtagged. That beauty that we have to be anonymous is gone. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes is begging us to be anonymous, promising that the more anonymous you are, the more known I'll make you in this world. We have to we have to understand that promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in this verse he's saying, give sadaqah, give charity, if you do it in a khafi manner. If you do it where nobody knows it. The hadith says that it should be that the right hand gives to the point the left hand doesn't know the right hand gave. But do we live in that era or not? Or do we feel this need to do something called virtue signaling? Let me explain. Sallu ala Muhammad wa Usually Rabiul Awwal is a slow month for me, but these first 6-7 days have been very difficult for me, very busy. I'm losing my voice, so stay with me, inshallah, if you don't mind. Virtue signaling, they have a phrase nowadays for everything, mashallah. What is virtue signaling? You see, look, when you're driving a car and you want to turn right, you turn on your indicator. You tell the car that's coming towards you, you tell the car behind you, you tell the guy at the street, at the stop sign, I'm turning right. So you turn on the signal to let the entire world know that I'm turning right, I'm turning left, I have my hazards on. Those are signals. We sent out signals to everybody to let them know exactly what I'm doing. The same idea, we have virtue signaling. I have to let the entire world every virtue that I'm doing. Everyone around me has to know exactly what I'm doing. There are people who have mastered the idea of slipping it into a conversation where there's no rabt at all in that conversation. I have no idea how they ended up talking about what they've done 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but some, mashallah, people have mastered that conversation. We're talking about A, they'll mention B somehow. Now they're talking about B, they mention everything they've done for B. And there's reasons behind that. And so this virtue signaling is that look what I've done, I want the world to know what I've done. And there's reasons behind that. The first reason is that we live in a very hollow world, hollow validating world. My validation is based on my comments in my Instagram page, or the comments in my YouTube clip, or the comments that say, for example, after a majlis, where someone comes and gives you a shabash, and gives you hosla afzai, and pats you on the back, and tells you, it's the greatest majlis I've ever heard. Really, the greatest majlis you've ever heard, mashallah? You've been hearing it for years. This is the greatest? Even I don't think I was the greatest, and I was the one who spoke it. But the greatest it was, and we feel good about that. So there's hollow validation, number one. Number two, we have a toxic need for people pleasing in our community. We want to make sure everybody's happy with me. I can't stand the fact that if this person or that person is not pleased with me. And remember, if everyone is pleased with you, there's a problem, right? Allah says that if you fear me, you won't fear what others might think of you. But if you don't fear me, you'll fear what everyone thinks about you. And so we will bend over backwards. We'll sell our own soul out to make sure A, B, and C are happy with me. Whether God is happy with me or not is irrelevant. I'll make that up later. But this person in front of me has to be happy with me. And the only way they'll be happy with me is if they're impressed by me. So I have to sit there and virtue signal. Tell the entire world what I've done. Number three is instant gratification. I know the moment I do something good and I get that return right away from somebody telling me that was the greatest usher I've ever heard, that feels great right away. Allah says, invest in me, you might get the investment later on, maybe in the other world, but sometimes not right away. Right? So for reasons for that, what do? We feel the need to what? To impress others around us. To announce every small thing I've done, every large thing I've done. In the process, we've forgotten the promise of Allah that if you praise me in private, I will elevate you in public. And we have to believe that. Let's examine a couple of our hadiths today, and a line from Du'aikum to make the point a little bit more muhkam for all of you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You have to understand that a true Muslim is based on three pillars. All of you know this. There's your aqidah, there's your ibadat, there's your akhlaq. It's not enough, I'm sorry. If I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I can defend the walayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen. I believe in Qiyamah, I believe in the adalat of Allah. I do my best to uphold my salat and fast every single month of Ramadan and go for my hajj. Those two pillars are solid. But the third one, the akhlaq one, is teetering and tottering. The moment I open my mouth, people run for cover. I have all the look of it. I have a nice white beard. I have a nice nishani on my forehead. I rock around in my abba and qaba. But if you ask my wife and my kids, he's a Fir'aun in my house. He's a Saddam in my house. He's the worst father that we've ever had. He denies us this and denies us that. So it's not two pillars. It's not one pillar. It's three pillars that we have to understand. There are some people that Imam Salih says they'll be dragged in the hellfire with their tongue. We have to work on these things, and there's no better farsh than the farsh azat to work on our behavior. Let's understand a couple of things. First of all, in our Furu' Idim, there are certain acts of worship where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has emphasized taqwa. كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. The very famous verse in Surah Baqarah that's made fasting wajib upon us. Wajib, roza, Saum, fasting has been written for us. Kutaba, يعني wajaba we use in Quran. Allah says it's written for you, meaning it's wajib upon you, like it's been wajib on those before you. لعلكم تتقون. One of the only acts of worship where Allah says it's a direct path towards taqwa is the act of fasting. The question is why? Why fasting? Why not salat? Why not hajj? Yes, they have, of course. Taqwa is the ultimate goal. But to use that specific Arabic verb for siyam and for saum and for fasting in Surah Baqarah has a raz behind it, right? It has a meaning behind it, right? And the reason for that is, one of the reasons is that fasting is one of the only acts of worship that's faceless. It doesn't have a form. There's no shape to it. When you're praying salah, you could tell someone's praying salah. There's bending, there's prostrating, there's qiyam, there's qunut. You could tell. When someone's doing hajj, you can tell he is in ihram, he's doing tawaf. Even khums is an exchange of money. But fasting, there's no form to it.
MashaAllah.
You don't walk around and say, hi, how are you? I'm fasting. No one asks you. No one asked you. You don't walk around with the forehead saying, hi, I'm in halat al-roza right now. Who asked you? Nobody asked you. Or have a t-shirt. I fast Mondays and Thursdays. What do? No one does that. The month of Ramadan, whether you're fasting right now, I wouldn't know it. It is a formless, shapeless fast that's only between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why Allah says it is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, the direct method between your fast and Allah. The reason for that is there's no dikawa in fasting. There's no chance of riyah in fasting. Now whether we carve a path of riyah, that's mashallah our tawfiq, mashallah. We can do that. But ultimately, it's meant to be a very what? Quiet act of worship. A faceless, formless act of worship. Right? And that's why it's so heavily emphasized, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. And Hajj is also the same way. Hajj has a form as well, but the reality is that you become nothing in the arena of Hajj. You are one of millions, dressed the exact same way. There comes a moment where you're sleeping under the sky. The night in Muzdalifah, you're homeless. You literally have no home. You're sleeping on rocks, amongst garbage, with the exhaust of the bus now blowing in your face. And you're doing your best, like I've said many times, collect your rocks, go to bed, make it through that night, and then go to Mina, where you're sleeping in a bed that's the half size of your qabr and grave. That's how big your bed is in Mina. And you are amongst CEOs, you are amongst servants, you are amongst slaves, you are amongst people who make 6 figures, you are amongst people who are scratching rock bottom. But for Hajj, you are one. You are at that moment one. There is no you are higher and you are lower. These are all moments where God says, I want you to strip the need to have validation from others. And I want you to seek the validation from me. I want you to come and seek my pleasure. Knowing full well when you hide your good deeds, I will elevate them. Sallu ala Muhammad. So I need to examine myself, all of you as well, please. Am I somebody who feels the need to tell the entire world every small thing I've done, every large thing I've done? Hadith by Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. These are small things. I know things that you've heard 1,000 times. I apologize. My speeches are small things. But sometimes we need, I know I do, maybe all of you don't, I need that reminder. Look at this hadith by Imam Sadiq, and I want to break it down a little bit further today, if you don't mind, and then I'll come to Du'ay Kumail. It's a profound tradition a lot of us can relate to. He says, Ma min abdin, there is no servant of Allah out there that does what? The first thing he does, asirra khayra. He hides his goodness. Sir is ultimately what secret is, right? We use that in Urdu as well. Right? Asrar is salat, Israr is salat, the secrets of worship. This is that servant that goes out of his way, whenever possible, to keep his khair a secret from others. Okay. Now what does Allah do in return? فَذَهَبَتِ الْأَيَامٍ أَيَامٌ أَبَدًا حَتَّى يُظْهِرَ اللَّهُ لَهُ خَيْرًا. It's impossible, Allah says, that this servant of mine, this banda of mine, works very hard to keep all of his khair a secret. After a certain amount of days, Allah says, يُظْهِرَهُ لَهُ خَيْرًا. I will make that khair revealed or apparent to others. It's impossible The hadith says, the mufhum, it's impossible that you try to hide your good deeds with the utmost sincerity and Allah not reveal them after a certain amount of days.
Jazakallah.
On the other side, ma min abdin yusirru sharran. Let's understand a little bit. Sometimes we think that people can get away with anything in this world. Say what they want, do what they want. I said, bhai, they always win for some reason. They do everything, sharadat upon sharadat, and they can get away with it. This hadith is saying they won't get away with it. That ma min abdin yusirru sharran. Again the same. فَذَهَبَتِ الْأَيَامُ عَبَدًا حَتَّى يُظْهِرُهُ لَهُ شَرًّا. That it's not possible that someone does all these things secretly. Right? Anonymous emails, anonymous phone calls, calls this department, does this, spreads this rumor, no idea who it was. You know it was you, but you're hiding it from others. All these things around town now, and you think for a moment that you can get away with it. Or sometimes there are people that say what they want to say. We have toxic people in our lives. We have people who are narcissistic, who say whatever they want. They have no lagam on their tongue. There's no leash on their tongue at all. They say whatever they want and they feel better afterwards. They destroy you in the process and they walk away. And you think, yeah, they won again. They won again. They win every single time. And this hadith is saying it's impossible that you do all this evil, it doesn't come around to bite you in this world. We believe in a form called tajassum a'mal, the personification of deeds. Sometimes the very good that you do, you'll see the jaza in this world. Sometimes the very shar you do, you'll see the adab in this world. You don't need to wait for that world. That world has its own hisab. But sometimes we've seen people who walk around now making others zalil, I'm sorry for that word, with their tongue. Eventually God strips them of any respect they have amongst the people. You can't get away with that. Neither can you get away with the fact of trying to hide your good. Allah says, I will yudhiruhu, I will make it zahir for others, so long as you are sincere in that. So sometimes we think, does anyone see the good that I do? Does anybody witness what I've done? And the problem is that sometimes, I tell you, there is this force inside of us called the ujba. It's a self-love. It's a beast that we have, an animal we have to control that wants constantly our praise. And sometimes to fight that inside of us is very difficult. Examples I've given, let's say, for example, you're driving by a center. Let's say you're driving by Dua Center, let's say, in the winter time. Very simple example. I'm in Ajax, let's use Dua Center. You're driving by Dua Center. You know there's a program that night. There's a few inches of snow in the parking lot. You decide to pull over. You, for some reason, have a shovel in your trunk. No idea why, but for some reason you have a shovel in your trunk. And you decide at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to at least shovel a pathway from the parking lot to the front door. Okay. Then you leave. No one sees you. That night you come to the majlis. And you overhear a conversation. I don't know who did it, but somebody had shoveled a pathway from the parking lot to the front door. Maybe it's the jinn, maybe it's Farishte, Mojaza.com, right? There's a video now, Mojaza Dua Center. Somebody had shoveled a path to the front door, and now it's talking, I wonder who it was. There's no cameras outside, and you're dying on the inside. Your ujb is poking up at you. Mubashir, tell him. Mubashir, tell them. Mubashir, tell them. And in the books of your amal, it's written that what? This act was done in secrecy. Remember the hadith by the Prophet, right? The higher the act is done in secrecy, the higher the reward for the act. Okay? Now what ends up happening is that Mubashir now bites his ujb and says, he tells one person, that it was me who shoveled that from the parking lot to the front door. It was me. It's my shovel. Acha, and you get so much encouragement. Shabash beta. Oh my goodness, mashallah, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. And it feels good. And that's one person. Imagine telling 10 more people. So now 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, and then Mubashir's hand has a mic. It was me. Now that act is written, one act of secrecy is now written from a ni'mat to a niqmat. An avenue of the ajr of Allah to the avenue of the adab of Allah. Not Mubashir, someone like me. That's how much forces we have inside of us that is poking at us. That's why it's so difficult to remain anonymous in a world where sometimes we feel the need to tell the entire world what I've done. Now look, in the corporate world, in the academia world, you have to sell yourself. You have to sell yourself. You have to tell your boss, I did this, I was one that established this, I stayed late, I worked extra hours. If you don't do it, then Bob and Kevin and Murphy will get that promotion. In the academic world, if I write a book, let's say for example, on the back cover, they'll list all of my credentials, all of my credentials. I earned this degree, I earned that degree, I have this, I have that. That's important. That's all there. The more you talk about yourself, the more you elevate in the corporate academic world. But in the spiritual world, the less you talk about yourself, the more you elevate in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not an apples to apples comparison. In that world, you should sell yourself. In that world, you should put your face on this mortgage board for sale to know that you're the one selling that house. No problem at all. But in the eyes of Allah, let Him take care of that izzat for you. Because the izzat that He'll get for you, you and I could never get for ourselves. Sallu ala Muhammad. So never believe that the world is winning and I'm not winning. I'm quiet about my goodness. I don't like to sit there and sell myself. The Quran is very open. فَضَلَ اللَّهُ عَلَى مُجَاهِدِينَ عَلَى قَاعِدِينَ عَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. Right? Sayyid Ismail is here. He can tell you the fadl of Allah is higher for a mujahid over a qa'id. A mujahid is one who struggles, who tries very hard to either contain himself, don't tell others. A qa'id from quyud means to sit. One who doesn't do anything. Allah sees every effort you put in, to the point where now He'll do what? He'll actually reward you for your efforts. So there's one person who does everything, one person does nothing. And sometimes we believe that the ones who do nothing, they get everything in this world. Inko dekhiye, beautiful house, whenever they want to go to Karbala, they go to Karbala, nice house, beautiful kids, blah, 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 and they do nothing. They never come here, never do there, blah, blah, blah. They're horrible to their parents, they're horrible to their spouse, but they get everything. Here I am, 5 times a day salat, doing my best to serve my parents, doing the best to serve my siblings, trying to be the best I can be, but still, mushkil upon mushkil, struggle upon struggle. Why do they get everything and I don't get everything? Does Allah see my struggle or not? You're a mujahid in the eyes of Allah, they're a qa'id in the eyes of Allah. You do everything, they just sit and do nothing. Yet somehow, for some reason in this dunya, they get everything, and everything you get is such a struggle. You end up asking, does Allah see me in this world? Not only do I see you, He says, I give you ajrun azim. I give you a grand reward. I see your struggles. Others may not recognize what you've done, but God is bound by His justice to not sit there and what? And deny you your rights. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Stop searching for praise from others. Stop begging someone to recognize what you've done. Stop selling your soul out for some sasti shorat and 15 seconds of fame. Leave that in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's His promise, and He will what? He will fulfill that promise. It's not like me, where I promise you A, B, and C, and I don't deliver. He promises you, He'll deliver. Dua Kumil, Imam Ali, beautiful line in that Dua Kumil. Every single Thursday, we say, Kam min fana'in jameel, lastu ahlan lahu nasharta. How much of that fana'in jameel, that beautiful praise, that lastu ahlan, I'm not worthy of it. I'm not the ahl of that fana'in jameel. I don't own that beautiful praise. But yet somehow Allah does what? Nashartahu. He spreads that praise around that I'm not worthy of. How much Imam Ali is saying? So not only is it the fact that if I am worthy of one reward, Allah will give me 10 rewards. If I'm worthy of one level of respect in the eyes of the people, Allah might make that 10 levels of respect in the eyes of people, provided I put that respect in God's hands, not in my hands. I keep doing what I'm asked to do. I keep fulfilling my wazifa and my zimadari. I keep doing the sharia. Leave the respect and izzat in Allah's hands. Let Him take care of that for you. Allama Majlisi rahmatullah alayh. Ayn al-Hayat. A beautiful book. He has a qissa and a story from the life of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. صلوا على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The story I've told before, I want you to understand this story. Now, whether or not it is Mu'tabar Sahih Ayn al-Hayat is up for discussion, whether or not everything that Allama Majlisi put in that book is right or not, or Mu'tabar. That's a little bit of a different discussion. The mafhum of this story is beautiful. It says, Jibreel comes to me one day. It says, I want you to do 4 things tomorrow. How many things, Qazi said? 4 things. Oh. Okay, now 4 things. When you leave your house, he says, tomorrow to the Prophet, you'll see a mountain. Approach that mountain. As it gets smaller, consume the mountain. It sounds odd, and let me explain. Then when you leave the mountain and you come across, let's say, for example, a treasure chest, diamonds and rubies and gold, a beautiful treasure chest, do your best to bury that treasure chest in the ground. Number 3, you'll see a bird flying towards you, being chased by another bird that wants to attack it. Open up your sleeve, let the bird go in. Okay. The 4th thing, you'll come across a carcass, a corpse of an animal that's sitting there dead for several days. Run as far as you can from that corpse, from that carcass. These 4 things. Prophet wakes up the next morning, opens his door, he sees the mountain. Does exactly that, gets close to the mountain, consumes the mountain. Sees the chest, buries the chest. Every time he looks to bury the chest pops out of the ground. He says, maybe I didn't do it properly. Takes a shovel, again in the trunk of his car for some reason, buries the chest, pops up. 3 times he tried. Every single time he tried to bury the chest, it pops up a little bit just so people know it's a chest in the ground. A beautiful diamond-studded chest. He goes, look, I tried my best, I moved on. Saw the bird, opened the sleeve, the bird came in, the other bird flew away. Saw the carcass, ran away from that. He goes home. Jibreel explains these 4 things to him. He says, the mountain that you were asked to move towards, it gets smaller as you confront it, is your anger inside of you. The more we're able to understand why we're angry, the smaller it gets. The more we run away from it, the bigger it gets. There's a whole falsafa behind it. And then what do? You consume the anger. The Quran says. You swallow your anger. Okay? I'll leave the ruby chest for later. The 3rd one was what? The bird. Very simple. Whenever you can help anybody who is in need, you help them whenever you can. Simple message. The carcass of the animal represents a session of ghibat and tuhmat, where you're sitting around with your friends and mashallah all night long you're talking about this person and that person and inko deki and unko suniya and blah 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 and ghibat upon ghibat. Do your best to do right. Run from that as far as you can. Not stick around and cancel your plans to stay a little bit longer. I'll be home in a couple of hours, honey. I'm enjoying this mahfil right now. The last one was what? The chest. And he says, these are your good deeds. The more you attempt to bury it, the more Allah will make it exposed afterwards. We have to believe in that. Don't fall into the trap of this glamorization world. Be anonymous in things that you do. Purify your intention. Do it only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether or not the world sees it, that's regardless. Know that Allah is hadir and nadir as well. He's present and He's watching as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala If you want to know the mistaq and the manifestation of that, Karbala is the biggest manifestation of that. Here's a man who gave his life in a desert that was not, didn't have Abadi, it wasn't this huge city, this known city. It was a very, very empty, unknown desert in northern of Iraq. And he did what he did, and he did for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today, 22 million people from all over the world. God says, I will make you known to the world. Hussein, you do what you do best, do it for me. I will take care of the rest. And I'll do it organically. No fatwa required, no wahi of Allah required, no hukum from anybody saying come to Kaaba and Arba'in, walk for as long as you want to walk. I will place the love of you inside the hearts of the people. You just do what you need to do, fi sabilillah. I will take care of everything else. So when Imam Sadiq says, may Allah have mercy upon the cheeks that rub themselves against the body of Imam Hussein, that is this shu'rat that nobody else could touch. And now it becomes what? The largest global peaceful gathering every single year, based on one man's sacrifice in some unknown desert 1400 years ago. Unheard of. There are people who have done things in public eyes, in front of cameras, in front of an entire media conference, can't get the shu'rat that Hussein ibn Ali has gotten today. Leave it in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I've seen this year with my own eyes, people with one leg hopping and crawling towards Imam Hussein. I've seen people with no legs pushing and dragging themselves to Imam Hussein. I've seen mothers who are pregnant somehow now carrying their child to Imam Hussein. All of that. Now I've seen what? I've seen Christian delegations, Sunni delegations. This is no longer a Shia thing. Allah has made Hussein global, all because he gave us drops of blood in the plains of Karbala. This is God's system. Believe in God's system. Give for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'll give you to the point where you can't even imagine. Look at Ghadir. I'm not a Masayib yet. Look at Ghadir. The Prophet has this man kunta mawla khutbah, 4 hours, only 100,000 were there. But how does Allah make sure that Ali is mashhur all over the world? For 3 days, the Prophet kept the ummah there in Hajj afterwards. For 3 days, which was not planned, by the way. My last point in Masayib, not planned. The idea was 4-hour khutbah, ab log ghar jaiye. But for 3 days, he kept them there. Now, there's no text messages, there's no phones that, John, I'll be 3 days late. My family's waiting for me. Back then, the Arabs would be able to measure the amount of distance it would take from Ghadir al-Khum all the way to home. So they're expecting their men to be home by the evening. By Hadd Aksar, by the maximum tomorrow morning. 3 days pass. Prophet says, wait where you are. Wait where you are. After 3 days, they go home, knowing full well that when they get home, the people inside the home who were not there in Ghadir will ask them, what happened? Why were you 3 days late? Then they'll say, the Prophet kept us. The Prophet gave a khutbah. What was in that khutbah? He lifted up Ali and said, Man kunta mawla fahada Ali al-Mawla. Not only are the ones who are hadir known, the ones who are ghaib also known. He makes Ali mashhur. Do what you want for Allah. Allah will elevate you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Don't beg for shahrat. Don't beg for fame. Don't worry about anything else. You do it for Allah. You cleanse your niyat. Leave the rest up to Him. It's His promise. It's His promise. If not in this world where it doesn't count, in that world where it does count, He'll elevate you. There are people who have palaces waiting for them in that world who are zaleel in the eyes of Allah in this world. We have countless examples. I'm sorry. People who are pus in the eyes of Allah, in the eyes of others in this world. People who are what? Who are mustaza'afin in this world, who are seen as weak in this world. They have neighborhoods waiting for them in Jannat over there. I can sit there and sell my soul out for kullu man alayha fan, this perishing world, or I can sit there and work for the baqa of Allah in the next world. It's up to me. The beauty of Allah is, I'll give you a little bit in this world, I'll give you even more in that world. You have to believe in it. Don't sell your soul out, please, inshallah. This is that Hussein that gave everything. Allah gave 10 times more back to him. If anyone remembers anybody, like he said in his Shairi, the first thing we do, when we go to some ghair place, is there Fajr Azan anywhere? Is there any place where you are gathering for Imam Hussein? 2 of you, 3 of you, it doesn't matter. That shuhrat, that fame, That recognition comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakallah.
Otherwise, who would have known? Guys, tell me, who would have known? Who would have known that Hussein gave his life in the way he did on the plains of Karbala? Who would have known in some random desert? Allah says, I'll take care of it. I'll do it through Zainab, I'll do it through Imam Sajjad, but I'll do it. And now they have brought their message back to Medina. Bashir has entered Medina and says, Ya Ahli Yathrab, Medina is not worthy of living anymore. Your Hussein has been killed. Your Hussein's body is covered in dirt and blood right now in Karbala. They trampled the body of your Mawla Hussein. They killed him hungry and thirsty. Medina's not worthy of being lived in anymore. The Ahli Haram are back. They're in the outskirts of Medina. The son of Hussein, Ali ibn Hussein, now is there. All the Bani Hashim come running out of their homes, beating their heads and beating their chests. We want to go towards Imam Sajjad. And now they gather around Imam Sajjad. He has his khayma. Can you imagine that moment? Imagine that moment now. The khayma opens. Imam Sajjad slowly walks out. There's a chair for him. In front of him, the Ahl Medina. Look, when you lose your father, and many of us have lost our fathers, and after so long, we begin actually to be in front of those that we know, that we love, that we know very well, our family members. They'll ask me what? They'll ask me a few questions. I have no doubt that they asked Imam Sajjad the exact same question. When my father passed away, the first thing my mother asked me, did you bury Baba? Did you wash Baba? Did you have a kafan over Baba? Ji ammi, kafan bhi ho gaya, sab kuch ho gaya. There's a tasalli over my mom, a tasalli over us brothers, that we washed my dad's body. I wrapped my dad's body with my own hands. No doubt the Medinas would ask Imam Sajjad, did you bury Hussein? Was Hussein washed? Was Hussein wrapped in a kafan? Where would Imam Sajjad start? But I never washed my dad's body. I never buried my father. Instead, Umar ibn Saad, 10 different horses. Change your hooves. 5 on one side, 5 on the other. I watched as 10 horses trampled the body of my Baba Hussein. That wasn't enough. This was the first time Imam Sajjad was talking to the Ahl Medina. Do you know what happened to Ali Akbar? Do you know what happened to Abbas? Do you know how they killed my 6-month-old Ali Asghar? Do you have any idea? Masaib upon Masaib, Gideon upon Gideon, Imam Sajjad in his broken form would give the Masaib of Hussein. Matim Hussein, Ya Hussein.
يا حسين 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 يا حسين
करबला वालों की जिंदा से रिहाई हो गई 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 तुरबते वाली सकीना से जुदाई हो गई करबला वालों की जिंदा से रिहाई हो गई करबला वालों की जिंदा से रिहाई हो गई इस कदर मारे
کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی۔
مومنوں منہ کو چھپا لو، نوچ ڈالو سر کے بال، مومنوں منہ کو چھپا لو، نوچ ڈالو سر کے بال، سر برہنہ دشت میں ذرا کی جائی ہو گئی، تربت
والی سکینہ سے جدائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی۔
مثل پھولوں کی چنے تھے لاش کے ٹکڑے حسین، مثل پھولوں کی چنے تھے لاش کے ٹکڑے حسین، اس قدر کمال زہرا کی کمائی ہو گئی، تربت
والی سکینہ سے جدائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی۔
اصغر معصوم کا وہ مسکرانا موت پر، اصغر معصوم کا وہ مسکرانا موت پر، حشر تک شرمندہ دریا کی ترائی ہو گئی،
تربت والی سکینہ سے جدائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی۔
سر کٹا گلزار جب مشکل کشا کے لال کا، سر کٹا گلزار جب مشکل کشا کے لال کا، تھا قیامت دین کی مشکل کشائی ہو گئی، تربت
والی سکینہ سے جدائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی،
کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی، تربت
والی سکینہ سے جدائی ہو گئی، کربلا والوں کی زندہ سے رہائی ہو گئی۔
یا حسین
یا حسین، یا
حسین
حسین، یا 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 حسین۔
میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، تیری سکینہ کو تاریکیوں نے گھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، بس ایک بار جو آ کے ملو تو سو جاؤں، میں اپنے بابا کے سر پر نثار ہو جاؤں، اکھڑتی سانسوں کو اب انتظار تیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا، بڑا اندھیرا ہے، جہاں میں قید کائنات سے محبوب کے پل زمین پہ گری جو حال تیرا ہوا تھا وہ حال میرا ہے جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا بڑا میرا ہے جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا بڑا میرا ہے لگے تماچے تو بے ہوش غم سے ہو جاؤں پڑھے تماتوں کی شدت تو ہوش میں آؤں یہی ہے رات میری اور یہی سویرا ہے جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا بڑا اندھیرا ہے جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا بڑا اندھیرا ہے تمنا دل سے رہائی کی مٹ گئی بابا مدینے جانے کی حسرت نہیں رہی بابا مجھے یہ لگتا ہے اب قید میں بسیرا ہے جہاں میں قید ہوں بابا بڑا اندھیرا ہے تیری سکینہ کو تاریکیوں نے گھیرا ہے
شکن ہماری ان کی زیارت سے آنکھیں کر روشن پس اس مومنوں کہو آمین پڑھو درود جو محفل میں ہو کے ناراض فاتحہ بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم الحمدللہ رب العالمین الرحمن الرحیم مالک یوم الدین ایاک نعبد و ایاک نستعین اهدنا الصراط المستقیم صراط الذین انعمت علیہم غیر المغضوب علیہم ولا الضالین اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد صلی اللہ علیہ یا رسول اللہ السلام علی نبی اللہ السلام على امير المؤمنين وسيد الوصيين السلام على فاطمة الزهراء سيد نساء العالمين السلام على خديجة الكبرى ام المؤمنين صلى الله عليكم سبتي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى والحسن والحسين السلام على أبا عبد الله الحسين على الأرواح التي حلت بثنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم سب مل کے کہیں السلام علی الحسین وعلی علی ابن الحسین وعلی اولاد الحسین وعلى أصحاب الحسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس ابن أمير المؤمنين وأختك زينب عليا وأم كلثوم وبنتك السكينة وجميع شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام على علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى الرضا أيها المدفون بأرض طوس وأختك فاطمة المعصومة ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن قائما المنتظر المهدي يا حجة الله من بقية الله يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والأمر والزمان الأمان 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 فتن الزمان يا صاحب الزمان عجل الله تعالى فرجك سهل الله مخرجك وظهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك ورحمة الله وبركاته سمل كبرين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم كل وليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقاعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا ایک مرتبہ سورہ ہم 3 مرتبہ سورہ اخلاص اس خانوادے کے مرحومین اپنے مرحومین شہداء ملت جعفریہ بالخصوص ہمارے والدین اور بھائی हमारे फातिर की मिसेस के वालिद साहब और जो भी मरहूमीन हैं सब के लिए एक मरतबा सूरह हम 3 मरतबा सूरह اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا وتقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. आमीन. बहुत बहुत शुक्रगुजार हैं और ममनून हैं आप लोगों की